welcome. Welcome to the Tiny Bookcase and to my Victober Wrap-Up. I hope you'll stick around and join me for this new video. Hi, it's November 1st, and wow, did October pass so fast. Thank you for joining me for this Victober Wrap-Up. Today I want to share with you all the books I read for the Victober Read-A-Thon. I didn't have a huge TBR for this Read-A-Thon because I was doing 2 Read-A-Thons in October, Victober and Boo to You. And I will be posting my Boo to You wrap-up videos shortly. But today I want to share with you all the books I finished for Victober. So there was 2 books that I did not finish on my TBR. All in all, I think I had a pretty successful Victober Read-A-Thon month. I believe that I actually met the challenges that I had set out to do, but I did have a couple of casualties. So there were 2 books that I did not finish that were on my original TBR, and those were Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte, and of course, and A Tale of Two Cities by Charles Dickens. So I'm going to get those out of the way. I started both of them, and I kind of had a rocky start with A Tale of Two Cities. I just had a hard time reading the first couple of pages. I kept rereading them. I don't know what was going on, if I was just having a bad reading day, but I couldn't comprehend what I was reading. I just kept, I don't know if you ever experienced that, where you read and you're like, what did I just read? So that happened to me for about the first few pages of the book, and then I kind of got past it, and I was able to start digesting what I was reading and understanding it. But I was juggling several books. I was doing 2 Read-A-Thons in the month of October, and I kind of got pulled to another direction with one of the books that I was reading. And actually what happened was I kind of got steered into another book. Actually, I added another book to my Victober Read-A-Thon, and that is A Diary of a Nobody by George Grissom. Actually, it was A Diary of a Nobody by George Grossmith. So I actually completed the Diary of a Nobody, but I didn't get back to the Tale of Two Cities, so I never completed that book. So that's just gonna roll over to my A Tale of Two Cities is just gonna roll over to my TBR, and I plan to read it at some point. But I actually got myself into another Read-A-Thon this month, so I already have a set TBR right now, and a couple of those books are kind of hefty, so I'm probably not going to get to A Tale of Two Cities anytime soon, so I'll just be on my revolving TBR for the moment. I am planning to finish reading Jane Eyre because it is part of my TBR. I don't know if I officially put it on the video that I did for that Read-A-Thon, but I will share a link to that video up here if you're interested in it. It is the HHN Read-A-Thon. My daughter created it actually, and I'm doing that right now. And at the moment, I have a couple of books that I still need to add to that TBR, but let's get back to this Read-A-Thon. So Jane Eyre is gonna just roll over to that Read-A-Thon, so I do plan to finish reading Jane Eyre, and I'm hoping that I will finish it this time around because it is part of my TBR for that Read-A-Thon. So let's just start with my least favorite of the books that I read this month for Victober, and that would be My Cousin Phyllis by Elizabeth Gasselkov. I gave My Cousin Phyllis 2 stars on Goodreads. It possibly would have maybe been 2.5 stars. There isn't any half stars on Goodreads, so I wouldn't say that I liked it. I didn't dislike it, but it was okay. For the most part, I did enjoy the narration. I have that one on audiobook because my library only had it available on audiobook. So I was listening to that one, and I enjoyed the way the story unfolded. I didn't like it enough to give it 3 stars, but I would say that, you know, I enjoyed listening to the story, and I think I was just more into. I didn't get really invested in the story for whatever reason. I just don't know, but I didn't dislike it. So that's just my opinion. I know a lot of other people that I've heard that read it they did really like it. I think I don't know. I just don't know why. I didn't like it as much as I wish I had, but I thought it was okay, which is why I gave it 2 stars. I did talk more about this book on an update for Victober, and I will leave a link to that video up here. So if you want to hear more about what I thought about this book, you can see that video. This book was part of my challenge. Katie from Books and Things had a challenge to read a book set in the country and or city, or to read both. And I chose to read both, a book set in the country and set in the city. So Cousin Phyllis was actually set in the country, so that was part of the challenge. And the book that I chose for the city, that was Tale of Two Cities, which I didn't finish reading, although I did feel like I did finish that challenge, and I will talk about that book in a minute. But the next book I want to share with you is the book I recently finished, which was Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte. I gave that a 3 stars on Goodreads. This story really disturbed me. It was difficult to read, which is why I was struggling of giving it 3 stars. But I did like Emily Bronte's, the way she writes. I think I really started to, like, I got into this book a lot easier than I did A Tale of Two Cities. So I would say that this book was just, I felt it more easier to read than A Tale of Two Cities. That said, only because her style of writing, but the story itself was quite hard to read. It is not for the faint of heart, I would say. This book will set off triggers if you have trouble with books about abuse, physical and emotional, and just really bad behavior towards human beings in general. It's a very tough book if you have any triggers with abuse. There are just some really strong characters in this book that are not very nice to each other, and to the point of just downright evil, I think. I think this tested me emotionally. There were times when I just felt so sick to my stomach reading this. I felt very stressed and emotionally exhausted at some points in the story. I plan to probably do a review of this book in the future, so be on the lookout for that. But I think I would have given this a higher score of stars on Goodreads, but for the fact that it was just so hard struggling with those emotions. I think I possibly could have given this a higher star count if I could have got past how horrible some of these characters were, but I just couldn't. It was just, for me, emotionally draining reading a lot of the story, and at some point I would just need to go and read something else just to lift up my spirits. But that's me. I mean, some people, really love this book. This is like one of their favorite books. And I would say I like the way Emily Bronte writes. I think these characters jump off the page. I think these characters jump off the pages at you. I think that you kind of get invested in this story. Obviously you do if you feel like I do, these strong feelings. The only thing I would say, a lot of people see this as a romance, a romantic tale. I don't see it as much as that, more as a revenge tale. And it just, for me, it was very hard to read emotionally. But that's me. Maybe I'm more sensitive than other people, but you let me know what you think. If you've read Wuthering Heights, how you felt about it. Do you like it? Do you love it? Was it hard for you to read as it was for me? I really am interested to learn if I'm the only one that had such a hard time emotionally reading this book. So the next book I want to share with you is The Diary of a Nobody by George Grossman. This was actually a last minute addition to my TBR for Victober. I think I saw a video that Katie had done from Books and Things, and she mentioned this book, and I was kind of struggling with Tale of Two Cities, and she did mention that this would be a good choice to read for the challenge of reading for a book in the city, set in the city. And so I thought I would see if I could get this on my Libby app, and I kind of was excited to see that I was able to borrow this book. So I also have this one on audio. My library only had this one on audio, and I really enjoyed this book. I gave it 4 stars on Goodreads, and honestly, I should have just given it 5 stars. I really liked reading this book. It was a very kind of funny tale about this man, and I just can't recollect his name. Pooter, I think his last name was Pooter. Charles Pooter, I think was his name. And it's just a story about his life. He jots down his daily occurrences in his diary. So you're just hearing excerpts from his journal talking about his life and the people that he shares experiences with. I found it very amusing. Sometimes I just really enjoyed reading this book. This book was the total opposite of Wuthering Heights. I actually was sad at the end of this book that it was over, because I had become very fond of Mr. Pooter. I loved hearing him tell his tales. And I would highly recommend The Diary of a Nobody if you have not read it. I think it is an excellent book. So the last book I'm going to mention in this video is A Treasury of Favorite Poems. I read The Lady of Shalat by Alfred Lloyd Tennyson, and I did read a few of Emily Bronte's poems. The Lady of Shalat is a poem that I first was introduced to when I watched the screen adaptation of Anne of Green Gables. She mentions this poem in one of the scenes, and the fact they even act out some of this poem. And the famous scene, if you've seen the screen adaptation, where she's floating along in this boat of her friend's father's, and it starts to sink. And so they're reenacting this poem, and there's a part, I think this is the part. In the stormy east wind straining, the pale yellow woods were waning, the broad stream in its banks complaining, heavily the low sky raining, over towered Camelot. Down she came and found a boat, beneath a willow, left afloat, and round about the prow she wrote, The Lady of Shalat. Turned to towered Camelot, for ere she reached upon the tide, the first house by the waterside, singing in her song she died, the Lady of Shalat. Under tower and balcony, by garden wall and gallery, a gleaming shape she floated by, dread paled between the houses high, silent into Camelot. Our hour upon the wharf they came, knight and burgher, lord and dame. and round the prow they read her name, the Lady of Shalat. Who is this, and what is here? And in the lighted palace near died the sound of royal chair, and they crossed themselves for fear, all the knights of Camelot. But Lancelot mused a little space. He said, "She has a lovely face. God in her mercy lend her grace, the Lady of Shalat." This has always been one of my most favorite poems since I first heard it on the screen adaptation of Anne of Green Gables, and I just enjoyed reading this for myself. I read a few of Emily Bronte's poetry as well for this read-a-thon. Hold in light esteem, and love I laugh to scorn, and lust of fame was but a dream that vanished with the morn. And if I pray, the only prayer that moves my lips for me is, leave the heart that now I bear and give me liberty. Yes, as my swift days near their goal, 'tis all that I implore, in life and death a chainless soul with courage to endure. That was the Old Stoic by Emily Bronte. It was one of my favorite ones that I read. There is a poem that I had read in one of it's a biography by I'm not sure her name, but I was reading it right before I started these read-a-thon, and I'll put the book up here somewhere. It's a biography of the Bronte sisters, and there was a poem. I don't remember if they said the name of that poem. I really enjoyed reading it, but I didn't find it in this collection of poetry, so I'll have to do some research to see what that poem was called, because I don't even know the name of it. But I did enjoy reading Emily Bronte's selections that were in this book. I really had a great time reading some Victorian poetry. There were a few other poems I wanted to get to, but with all the reading I was doing for this read-a-thon and the other read-a-thon I was involved with, I just never got around to it. So I guess I'll just save it for next year when Victober comes around again. But that's all I have to share with you for this video. I really did enjoy my experience with Victober. This was my first year. I was a bit ambitious with my TBR, and like I said, I didn't finish 2 of the books that were on my original TBR, but because I did feel I achieved the challenge, I feel like I was victorious in my first Victober read-a-thon, so I'm quite happy with this month's reading, and I look forward to next year's Victober. I think I'm going to do a little bit more research so that I'm ready and I know more or less what I'm reading. Well, at least I hope to make sure that I have a set TBR and I know what I'm reading so I can focus on the literature, because I think I did enjoy this read-a-thon, and I also enjoyed the other read-a-thon which I was also participating in, and I'm thinking that that's going to happen if I continue to do these read-a-thons each year. So I will definitely need to make sure that I have a good set of books that will help me through the challenges if I'm participating in those, and also feel like I was successful in the read-a-thon itself. But if you did participate in Victober, I'm so curious to know what books you read. So if you participate in Victober, please hit the like button and let me know what books you read and how you felt about what you read. I really enjoyed my experience, even though there were a couple hiccups with some of the stories. I did feel very accomplished in everything that I read, and I'm looking forward to next year. So with that, I hope you enjoyed this video, and possibly we'll decide to return for another one. But until next time, take care, God bless, see you soon, bye.